So guys, I have one more citrus themed video that's going to air on Saturday, but I'm kind of starting to go towards the autumn months, and I've put together a top 10 autumn fragrance notes video for you today. It's a ranked list, so we're ranking down from number 10 to number 1, my top 10 favorite autumn notes, and each note has 5 fragrance suggestions. Before we get started with the video, let me know what your favorite autumn notes are. Add a comment below. And I went through the list of notes that I thought would be perfect. And I feel like some of these are just the perfect types of notes. Not only are associated with autumn, but also the types of notes I like to wear during the autumn months. And again, as I said, if you have favorite notes you like to wear, or fragrances that feature your favorite autumn notes, add those fragrances down, and also the notes themselves. And this is another deep dive video. We have 50 total fragrances today. This is not going to be a long video, but we have a nice range of 10 notes, 5 fragrances each. If you haven't been catching my deep dive videos, please do. I have a playlist and I'll link it in the info box. You can click on it and watch it, and it'll just go on for hours and hours and hours. You can have it as background, or, come back to the videos, and they are all timestamped. The fragrances are all timestamped, and so you can click on the timestamps. One of the videos might not have the chapters available, but if you look in the info box, you can find the timestamps there. I believe that was because we went over 100 fragrances, and so you can't have more than 100 chapters apparently on YouTube. This is what my research has led me to. All right, so I've got my papers here with all of the fragrances, and then also the different fragrances here. I hope I got the lists correct, but I'll look at my sheet if they're not in order. But the first fragrance, or actually what I should say, the first autumn note that I'm going to talk to you about is Immortelle. That's at number 10. And for me, instantly, the everlasting flower, this flower that never dies, this is just like autumn to me. It gets dry, and that dryness I associate with leaves turning dry and things like that, or shrubs and bushes and things like that. So it's used quite a bit in perfumery. In fact, I shot a video while I was in Provence with a woman that worked for the farms, and mostly for lavender, but we discussed the Immortelle in that video as well. So if you didn't catch that video, please go catch it. So Immortelle, again, when you experience it in fragrances, it does act like autumn. It kind of smells like it too, because it's kind of leafy, dry, slightly tobacco-ish. Sometimes people get curry, but it's brown sugar, it's caramelly, and all these associations come with this interesting, very unique note. So I've got 5 fragrances here for this note at number 10. First of which is L'Eau d'Immortelle. What a gorgeous fragrance this is. It's intense with the Immortelle. And what they've done is, actually, I should say, this is created by the perfumer that created Sable from the house of Annick Goutal or Goutal Paris. If you like that fragrance, this is definitely a fragrance you should check out if you haven't yet, because they're created by the same person, same perfumer. And basically, this is an intensified version of that. Plus, it's an all 100% natural fragrance. And so for me, they've taken it into a slightly chocolatey amber direction. And it's super concentrated, super intense. And something under there is super sexy as well. I think they have an intense note of patchouli in there. But for me, you can smell the dry leaves effect of this one. So prominent in there. It's really, really stand out. And it reminds me of Sable from the house of Goutal Paris or Annick Goutal, but just a more concentrated take on it. Really super intense and very, very bold, dark, leafy, dry, and of course ambery and slightly chocolatey. If you didn't get your nose on this one, this was featured in a Scent Club kit last year. We have some of the atomizers left if you are in the market to check that out. Then we're going, I guess it's the wrong order. My fragrances are in the wrong order. Okay, so next we're going to the house of ATELIER Oranges like this. This is the ultimate in autumn fragrance or Thanksgiving themed fragrance. It does feature Immortelle, but it also features pumpkin. Pumpkin's not one of the notes that I'm highlighting today in this video. but it's got pumpkin, ginger, it's got neroli, orange blossom, things like this. It's a very interesting fragrance in that it utilizes those ingredients really perfectly and they work wonderfully together. I believe this was a collaboration at first with the actress Tilda Swinton. It used to be called Tilda Swinton. They used to have Tilda Swinton written on this side, like this on this side, but no longer. I guess that was just a temporary thing. So it was a fragrance that, did she work on? I'm not 100% there. But here, with this one, it's quite dry, also very floral and bright. It's not as dark as L'Eau d'Immortelle for sure. And also, ginger is prominent. It's quite zingy. And then orange blossom gives you slight soapiness as well. There's quite a bit of orange blossom or neroli in this as well. But all the notes together are working wonderfully. I guess the pumpkin is the most iffy note. I'm not really getting a pumpkin effect too much, but it's in there. It provides a slight vegetal touch. But I'm not saying this is smelling like vegetables. It smells a lot like soap and that kind of dry, grassy, slightly tobacco-ish kind of effect the Immortelle flower, everlasting flower provides. It's been a favorite fragrance of mine. Actually, when I visited their store in 2016 or 2015, it's the first fragrance I bought from the house. I've been a fan of that since the first time I visited that brand in Paris. So, État Libre d'Orange like this. Then, we're going to a fragrance called Immortelle Corse by the house of Parfum d'Empire. Are you familiar with this one? Immortelle Corse, meaning immortelle from Corsica. Corsica is an island that is off of the coast of France. So I think the idea of this one is a bit similar to the idea of L'Eau d'Immortelle. But to me, this is, it's much drier. I feel like in the L'Eau d'Immortelle by Voyage Imaginaire does get ambery and does get a bit syrupy. This is all very dry and leafy, and it's got a hay-like quality. And that's another thing that you get from Immortelle. It's dry, obviously, and hay I associate with autumn as well, but I'm not the biggest fan of hay too much. But this one does act a bit hay-like. It also acts a bit animalic as well. Does remind me a little bit of his fragrance, or the same brand's fragrance called Tabac Tabou. But if you like experiencing the Immortelle note, you do experience it here quite a bit. This is super, super dry and intensely dry. And the Immortelle is acting a slight bit animalic in this one. So it's not for the faint of heart. Let me try it a little bit more, just so I can see if I can get a little bit more of its nuances. This one does have resins and amber, but even though I mentioned this one doesn't have a lot of amberiness, even though it has those notes, it's quite dry to me. I feel like the resinous notes or the ambery notes are not the syrupy kind or syrupy variety. I do get much more syrupiness and sweetness from the Voyage Imaginaire in comparison to this one. This one's much more savory and a bit more daring. Again, you got to be into hay. This does act hay-like. It acts a bit tobacco-like as well. And not much sweetness, if at all, here with Immortelle Corse. So that's from the house of Parfum d'Empire. It does remind me of Tabac Tabou, by the way. Next, going to the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. It's GANYMEDE Extrait. So GANYMEDE Extrait, you know, I had to double check because I knew that this fragrance featured Everlasting Flower or Immortelle, but the Extrait features it a little bit more prominently than the OG fragrance. That's why I'm featuring this one here. I get it from the OG, which is my favorite, but the extract has a bit more of a dominant experience with the Immortelle to give you that kind of autumn-like experience with the Immortel's qualities and features. But in the end, it's so good. I love this smell. This is definitely one of the best smells ever created by a perfumer. I really enjoy it. I started enjoying Ganymede as soon as, you know, Marc-Antoine Barrois dropped it. In fact, I have a video with him shot in his atelier in Paris when this launched. But with this one, you get all that dryness. It's a bit minerally and metallic, but beneath it, there's fresh ozonic touches. So there's a crispness. I believe there's violet in here. There's some slight fruitiness in here, giving you slight cucumbery kind of appley experience. It does get a bit musky as well. But in the end, it's Ganymede intensified, but not super intensified, I think. Just a bit more intense than the OG Ganymede, but really great fragrance, I think. I also think that from when I first got a bottle of Ganymede Extrait to now, it does have a little bit more of an intensification as it's sitting around maturing, if that makes sense. So let me know if you're familiar with Ganymede Extrait. I'm sure you're familiar with Ganymede. Let me know if you enjoy Immortelle or Everlasting Flower. We've got one more fragrance in this for this note. It's Musk Immortelle from the house of Atelier des Ors. So Musk Immortelle is musk with the Immortelle note. This is not an animalic musk. It's definitely a wearable musk. But you have that Immortelle note very, very present. So it adds that kind of dry characteristic, hay-like, leaf-like, tobacco-like, against muskiness. So it just totally reminds me of autumn. I like that autumn experience it provides. And again, the Everlasting Flower, the Immortelle, to me, if you've ever held one, they used to have them quite a bit at L'Occitane because they used to have a lot of Immortelle products. You can actually handle it, feel it. It's just a dry flower that never dies. That's why it's called the Everlasting Flower or Immortelle. And so that gives me the whole idea of dry shrubbery, dry leaves, dry grass, dry trees and things like that in the autumn months. And so that is the experience I get with exactly this note and this fragrance. But to me, there's some light sweetness here, and I think it's brought out by the Immortelle note. There's some light caramelly sweetness. It's not sticky sweet though, just nuances are here, maybe a little bit of brown sugar, but quite musky and also dry and leafy, grassy, hay tobacco thing happening. This is not one of the all-time, I should say, the most popular ones from this house, but there's something about it that is kind of addicting. Now, I'm going to compare these two. I think in this category, the most daring is Immortelle CORSE, I think. And then also probably Lodi Immortelle was a bit daring. I feel like that fragrance might be a bit challenging for some folks. I think Immortelle in general might be a challenging note. But if you want something easy, like this is so super easy to wear. Ganymede is already very popular. You have it there, but that's the Extrait. And then this one is fairly easy as well. Musk Immortelle from the house of Atelier des Ors. So I'm going to do a little cleanup here real quick. The table is a bit full, so I wanted to move some fragrances away so they don't fall from the ledge because this table is pretty small. All right, so number 9 autumn note is sandalwood. So this doesn't smell like autumn to me, and they don't have to smell like autumn. I think they're perfect for autumn, basically. But I did throw in something that does smell like autumn, which we started with, the Immortelle. But I've got sandalwood here at number 9 as a note. I've got 5 fragrances in this category as well. I find sandalwood to be, the creamy variety, to be some of the coziest fragrances to wear. And in the autumn months, I like these cozy fragrances, creamy, smooth fragrances. I almost put milk on the list, but milk ended up at the bottom at like number 11, 12, somewhere around there. But sandalwood acts a bit milky and lactonic, so it's woody too because it's dry. Woods are kind of dry to me, so I felt like this is a perfect combination for an autumn fragrance. It's at number 9, and we're going to start off first with AFFINESSENCE SANTAL Basmati. This is I think one of the best fragrances from this house, and one of the more popular ones from this house. This is also from their Notes de Fond collection, which means the base notes collection, as you can see right there. Base notes collections, I've explained this before. They have top notes collection, heart notes collection, base notes collection. One of my favorite heart notes collection fragrances is the Saffron Neroli. I don't have any of their top notes collection fragrances, but I absolutely love the Santal Basmati and the Vanilla Benjoin or Vanille Benjoin from this house as well. But we're talking about the Santal Basmati. It's sandalwood with a kind of a basmati rice experience. But super cozy, very milky, and also musky and smooth. And I think this is the kind of fragrance that's perfect for the autumn months. Again, it's woody, it's dry, it's got those kind of autumn-like characteristics. But under there, there's that milkiness. It's also powdery because the rice is kind of powdery in this. The rice has these light nuances. I wouldn't say this is a super intense rice fragrance. But the fact that you get that from the sandalwood fragrance is super, super awesome. Very, very cozy, very creamy, milky, but super woody as well. So that's Santal Basmati from the house of AFFINESSENCE. Next fragrance is from the house of Parle de Parfum. It's Milky Musk 39. There we go, Milky Musk. Milky Musk. Milky Musk. There's also, I'll get to that one. It's not in the same category. But this is probably one of the more popular fragrances from this house. And it's exactly what you get. Milky sandalwood. Some of these fragrances might smell kind of similar because we're dealing with a lot of heavy base note of sandalwood. Super dense note. Base heavy note. But they all have their own nuances and they go in different directions. Like this one has a bit of a citrusy freshness. But when it starts developing, it becomes sweet as well. Unlike Santal Basmati became powdery, it didn't sweeten up too much. This one does almost kind of sweeten up, like you're having like a milky custardy effect with the sandalwood. But in the end, it's like super, super woody with the sandalwood, but totally the creamy variety, the creamy, smooth, milky, lactonic variety. And it's a nice job by perfumer Michel Almerac. It's not my favorite from the house. I do enjoy it quite a bit. My favorites are Wake Up World, Mile High, but that one's quite nice too. It's definitely very cozy if you like a sandalwood fragrance with a milky effect. But this next one is sandalwood, but it also has a milk note in it. This is from the house of L'Orchestre Parfum. It's Piano Santal. You guys familiar with this one? We featured this last summer. Not this summer, but a year ago summer in a kit. Super awesome kit, by the way. It was this. It was Vanille Supermassive from Les Eaux Primordiales. And then we had Soradora Jani. But again, this is so super milky and cozy. This is also super musky. Like there's a lot of musks thrown in here. And I feel like these kind of notes lend themselves perfectly to musky notes. And we have a musk category in here as well. We'll get to that in a little bit. But right now we're talking about number 9 autumn note or fall note. It's sandalwood. And even though this is a very milky sandalwood fragrance, you've got some musks under there as well. It makes for it even super cozy. I love that. Such a great scent. And I've been a fan of this one for a good 5 years, and I was grateful to have been able to feature this in our kit. Let me know if you're familiar with this. Were you able to get the kit and had that fragrance in it? Let me know if you're a fan. You do really experience the milkiness. It's super smooth, slightly custardy, a thick cream. It's not like a liquidy, like it's not too liquid, if that makes sense. Thin, not 2%. This is a kind of a bit of a full fat kind of a milk experience, but probably one of the most popular sandalwood fragrances out there happens to be Tam Dao from the house of Diptyque in the EDP concentration. This has the color has changed. Look at that. It's leaked. Okay, I'm going to have to clean that up. So this has the Mysore sandalwood. But this one to me really does smell like Mysore sandalwood. I'm not 100% sure if they are using Mysore sandalwood from Mysore, if it's from somewhere else. Probably it's from somewhere else. But to me, this is a really nice combo of that creamy, smooth sandalwood, but also it gives me a little bit of a spicy pencil shavings effect in here as well, which might not make it super cozy, but it makes it super autumnal. Like it has a very autumn effect because it's that kind of dry pencil shavings smell mixed in with the creamy sandalwood. And that dryness of that pencil shavings, you know, it's, to me, it feels like autumn to the touch. So that's what you get with this one. But I think it's nicely done. And I prefer the EDP over the EDT. The EDT is just a lot fresher. And I like my fragrances to be a bit more robust, thicker, longer lasting. And so we've got that with Tam Dao from the house of Diptyque and the EDP concentration. Last but not least, it's Nothing But Sea and Sky from the house of NUIT NOMADE, one of my favorite French houses. Absolutely love this house. I love this fragrance as well. To me, this is the kind of fragrance, the name Lazy Sunday Morning from Maison Margiela kind of makes me think about this fragrance, because it's like a carefree weekend day. You don't want to put a lot of thought into your fragrance. You want to smell great. You want something simplistic, something that won't challenge you because it's a lazy, carefree day. That's what you get with this one. But it's super sandalwoody. It's clean and also very musky. And it's a bit laundry-like as well. Maybe there might be some aldehydic touches in there, but it's so different from all the rest of the fragrances. But I really love it. It goes down fast because I enjoy this one so much and spray so much of it on. But I love its cleanness, its creamy sandalwoody touches. It is a bit powdery. For sure it's woody and definitely musky as well. Probably, I don't know if this is a popular one from the house. My favorite is Jardin de Misfa, but also the new extracts are really great. But this is actually solid. For someone that was looking for something a bit more simplistic, you want something, like I said, like the idea of lazy Sunday morning comes to mind. It's, you want fragrance, but you don't want something like totally like taking over. Something that's just, you know, spritz on and go about your day kind of a fragrance. And that's what I get with that one. Also smelling great at the same time. So that is the number 9th note, sandalwood. Let me know if you're a fan of sandalwood. Let me know if you have a favorite sandalwood fragrance. Do please add a comment below. Let me know if you like these fragrances or if I should have chosen something else. There's a ton of sandalwood fragrances out there. You know, there's way too many. I had to put these together. I thought about them and I picked some favorites. And also I made sure to include some that would really showcase the note. Like, for example, with Tam Dao, that is like perfect example of a sandalwood fragrance from a niche house. Diptyque, they made a great one. It smells like Mysore sandalwood. It acts like it. And also it's creamy, but also kind of pencil shaving-y. But let me know your thoughts on the sandalwood fragrances. Would you consider it a great autumn note? Do add a comment so we can find out. Next, at number 8, this is a note that's fruity. We're talking about apples. Apples in fragrances. Yeah, I consider apples an autumn note. In fact, up near where my family lives, there's a place where we can go pick apples in autumn, like October, I think. And it's the autumn experience is perfect right there, you know. Apples ripened. It's kind of breezy, but still the sun is warm. It's perfect for apple picking and buying. And I love apples. It's one of my favorite notes. I mean, not notes, but fruits to eat. But also, I like them in fragrances as well. And I totally consider it one of the ultimate in autumn fragrances. And also, apples are also used quite a bit in the autumn, you know, like pies are made, desserts are made. And I love apple desserts so much. Apple pie, apple crumbles and things like that. I just love anything made with apples for desserts, like sugary, kind of caramelly, maple syrupy, you know, syrups drizzled all over, kind of dough and apples. It's one of my favorites. So I've got 5 apple themed fragrances here. Some of them do lean boozy, but and we also have a boozy category here in the mix as well. But I love apples, as I said, and I love smelling like apples. But you know what? Let's do a little segue here. Some people complain on this channel that why would I want to smell like food? So why do you guys like to smell like food, and why do you guys not like to smell like food? Add a comment below, because I mean, I get asked the question, why do you want to smell like food? But nobody ever says, why would you want to smell like food? And why you wouldn't want to smell like food, if that makes sense. So put a comment down. Let's talk about apple fragrances here. First is Apple Brandy on the Rocks from the house of by Kilian. Yeah, this one goes boozy. This is also very fruity. I believe there's also pineapple here. But it's so super delicious. I like that because apples have a fragrance, but their fragrance becomes a bit more intense when they're cooked or macerated or boiled or whatever, you know, for cider and things like that. That's another thing that's prominent in the autumn months, cider. And here, I feel like the apples are just put in to bake. You're starting to smell the difference, but there's still the smell of the freshness of the raw apples in comparison to the cooked apples. There's a kind of a barrel aging quality about this as well. I believe there's an oak note in this, but it's awesome. It's super boozy, and it's a great take on a fruity, boozy cocktail like a fragrance, and focusing on the apples. Yum, so good. I was actually for a while not talking about Kilian's fragrances, but they have launched some really great fragrances lately. The Smoking Hot, which I have coming up later. I shouldn't say Smoking Hot. That's also great. I have that coming later as well. But Old Fashioned, man, that is so super awesome. So I think they do really great with boozy and slightly gourmand fragrances. So I've got to talk about them, because even though I kind of consider their fragrances not the longest lasting, they have some of the best smells, I think. I think if it's Kilian Hennessy doing the curating of the fragrances and, you know, dealing with the perfumers and, you know, all that kind of stuff, then they're doing a good job. They know the direction with the boozy fragrances and things like that. And definitely Apple Brandy on the Rocks is super, super delicious. And I think they've done a great job. This one also doesn't smell, like, I think I mentioned that, but it doesn't smell super, like, it smells very fresh, even though there's a side to it that does smell a bit, you know, cooked like apple or distilled. So fermented. Because in a booze like a theme, it's gonna get aged and things like that, so it takes on a different smell. For me, this one, as I was saying earlier, has both sides. There's a fresh side about it, like you're smelling the raw apples, but also the fermenting side where it's being left to kind of turn into liquor or something. So that's Apple Brandy on the Rocks, so awesome. And then we've got Promise from the house of Frederic Malle. I almost said the night. It's Promise for sure. This is a Frederic Malle creation by Dominique Ropillon. Definitely one of the best. But I almost feel like this does not fit this collection. Does it? It's an oudi collection, but this one is not super oudi, even though it has cypriol in the notes, and a lot of people associate that smelling like oud. But to me, the cypriol creates a barrel smell, like the woody barrels that they age liquor in. That's what you get with this one. So it has a kind of a woody, barrel-y, aged, kind of boozy, fruity apple kind of a experience. The cypriol note, or is it papyrus? Because I get those two kind of mixed up. They smell similar. That's super prominent in this. Super, super prominent. I think I have a video on the channel of cypriol fragrances, or maybe it's papyrus. But to me, I get those two mixed up. But there's also rose in here. There's not a lot of fresh, there's not a lot of warmth under there. There's some slight warmth. To me, it acts more fresh, or the utilizing of fresher notes. Eventually, it does get warm, but what I like is that realistic smell of the oak barrels of the where they age the liqueur. It's a fruity, boozy, floral experience. Really awesome. But I think it doesn't really fit the collection, the Desert Gems. What do you guys think? Because it doesn't have oud, but maybe I think they're saying it's cypriol. people associate that with oud, so we'll put it in that collection. But also, I should say, they just launched Hope last year. Hope, to me, is almost like the same formula. It's kind of turned upside down. So when you smell Hope, you get a lot of oud, Western oud, but it also smells a bit like this. So you can actually layer the two together for a very expensive layering combo, but it's doable. All right, let's move on to Jeroboam Vespero. We actually spoke about this recently with Francois Annen of Jeroboam Javoy. If you haven't caught my video with him, they just launched a fragrance called Kunamo. It's with pear. It's very juicy, but lots of musk. I think it's definitely going to be popular for the house, but this is definitely also really great. I mentioned in the video when I was talking to him about this fragrance, like this is their answer to something like Aventus, but it's a very green apple-y fragrance. It's super fresh, spicy, also woody and musky as well, because this brand has a fragrance called Origino. It is their musk fragrance. It's a cocktail of musks and aromatic and herbal notes and woods. It's basically the base of a lot of their fragrances. You can also use that to enhance the fragrances as well. So there's a lot of musks in here, but there is a lot of apples. I wouldn't say this smells like Aventus. It doesn't, but it's kind of like the answer to Aventus. This doesn't smell like Aventus whatsoever. Just don't think going in here it's going to remind you of Aventus. But then noses are different. It might remind you of Aventus. To me, it doesn't. Kind of a similar idea, but it's super spicy, very woody. It's green and apple-y, and also musky. Definitely you experience the apples in Vespero. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. There's a bit of leather in that fragrance also, I think. But the next fragrance, going to the house of Etat Libre Orange once again. This is I Am Trash. So apples are not the most used note in fragrances, but definitely there's a few out there. And I think Etat Libre the Orange's I Am Trash is definitely an apple bomb. It's super green, juicy, but I smell the skin here as well. I feel like this is got a lot of woods, and I think the idea of upcycling was prominent here with this fragrance. I think from what I read, they went to restaurants and took the leftover foods, and you know, the apples is one of the things, so they got all the scraps and things and they turned it into the notes to use in this fragrance. I think that's what I remember, and also that's why it's what it's called. It's I Am Trash. Basically, they collected the remains or the leftover, pretty much trash, and they used it to create a fragrance. It's super juicy and clean, woody, and earthy, I think, but very green also with the apple note in this. It's very, very fresh, and I also get, like I said, the skin of the apples. Definitely, it's pleasant if you like the idea of apples and fragrances, the juiciness, the fruitiness. I Am Trash, for sure, from the house of Etat Libre Orange. And then finally, Parfums de Marly's Greenly is definitely one of the best apple fragrances, I think, out there on the market. This is super uber juicy and also musky. There's a lot of cashmeran or cashmere wood in this fragrance. Yum. I love that. I really, really love that. It's green also. I think there's a lot of citrus leafy notes, like petitgrain notes in here. So it kind of brings out a bit of green, greenness for sure, but also a bit of bitterness. But I started out thinking that fragrance was just okay. I liked it. I said it was not anything groundbreaking, but even though right now it's still not anything groundbreaking, I've come to really, really enjoy it, and I love wearing it. It smells really, really great on skin. In fact, it smells better on skin than it does on the strip, and I like that about it. But I love its greenness, and it's quite enjoyable in the summertime to wear because it's quite fresh. I guess maybe you guys thought I was going to include kind of gourmand apple fragrances here. We're just highlighting the notes themselves. They don't necessarily have to go gourmand. I suppose the Kilian was the most gourmand here. But again, it's just the note we're talking about. It doesn't have to be gourmand. I just feel like apples are a perfect autumn note, especially since in the autumn you go pick the apples. There's a lot of apple orchards and things like that. One of my favorite fruits. Also during the autumn months, you're also cooking a lot and baking a lot with apples. So it's a kind of an apple-y season, I think. The autumn months for sure. But let me know your thoughts on these apple fragrances. Let me know your thoughts on any other apple fragrances that you would have liked to have seen here. You have a favorite apple fragrance that I missed? I have a lot of videos on these different notes also, guys. If you are searching the channel, you can search for apple and it'll bring up videos featuring apples. You can search for sandalwood. You can search for immortelle. I've done quite a bit of videos on all of these different topics. So if you want to dig deeper on these notes, you can do that. And of course, you can also search for autumn fragrances, and you'll find videos on autumn specific fragrances that I think are appropriate for autumn. This is the very first 2025 autumn video that I'm doing. It's a deep dive video, not much editing here, if at all. Stay tuned for more autumn themed videos to come up in the near future. But let's move on from apples to tea. Who's a fan of tea, and do you consider it a great scent note or fragrance note for autumn? Once again, we're going back to the coziness of fragrances, and I find cozy fragrances to be super awesome in the autumn months, and I consider tea to be one of the coziest notes ever out there. Let me know if you consider this as well. Do you like to wear, I mean, tea fragrances you can wear all year round. There's a lot of fresh tea fragrances out there. So in this list, it's just a nice variety of tea fragrances. They don't necessarily have to be fresh or light or dense or intense or gourmand. I just find that tea fragrances tend to go quite cozy. So we're going to start off first with Nishane's Oolong Cha. Kind of a green take on tea. Also very, very fresh. This is not a tea gourmand, by the way. It's sparkling, it's effervescent, it's green, super cozy, it's smooth. I find tea to be, well, consuming tea, I should say. I love consuming tea in the autumn. The warmth of the tea kind of soothes me. I like that about it. There's also a little milk in there, a little sweetness like agave or honey. I do go with something like a really awesome Earl Grey from the Mariage brand of teas. And Earl Grey teas are some of my favorites, but the entire brand of Mariage teas are all very perfumed teas. Hey, I've got to try and consume perfume as well. So if you like perfume and you like tea, definitely check out Mariage Frere tea. They make some of the most amazing perfumes and teas. So they're very perfumed and very fragrant teas. And I highly recommend that brand as a great brand for teas. If you're local here in San Fran, you can go to ZGO Perfumery. They have an amazing collection of Mariage Frere teas. Again, my favorite brand of teas. I love them. But the Nishane is a super fresh, really, really fresh. It's also very citrusy, very, very citrusy. It eventually has musky notes in the dry down, but along the way you have some citruses. But you've got some light floral notes in there, but super juicy and fresh and clean and super cozy as well. Really, really love that. It's grown on me quite a bit. It wasn't one of my all-time favorites from early on with the brand. I guess maybe they were highlighting some other fragrances, but this was a bit of a sleeper early on, but then everybody was talking about it. I enjoy it quite a bit. And Oolong Cha, definitely one of the best from the house of Nishane, and a perfect tea fragrance. Next, we're going to the house of obvious parfums. It's NUIT. You guys familiar with this house and NUIT? This fragrance is matcha. There's mate, so it's a combination of two kinds of teas, matcha and mate, so both leaning green. There's a bit of zing in here and some vanilla. This one actually kind of goes slightly into the gourmand territory. So it gets creamy and vanillic. But once again, there's a lot of tea in here. Not only the matcha, you've got the mate in here as well. So it's slightly green and creamy. Not fresh whatsoever. So night and day difference between the Oolong Cha and the Unete. The Unete also, because it has that vanilla, acts a bit like you're putting cream in your milk. You're swirling it, it's getting a bit thicker. Because there's a thickness about this fragrance because of the thicker notes, the vanillic notes. There's tonka here. But in the end, it's not as liquidy as the Oolong Cha. It's more thicker because you've thickened it with like some kind of a thick milky cream, which I do enjoy putting in tea once in a while. So this one does get sweeter for sure. Sweeter, more gourmand, but still behind all that kind of sweetness and gourmand touches, it's tea to the max. And you've got a lot of mate and you've got a lot of matcha tea in here. The two together, it's a tea explosion, right? Yeah, let me know if you're a fan of Un Été from the house of Obvious Parfums. Obvious Parfums do seem to be a bit simplistic, and also they are very layerable fragrances. At least some of their earlier fragrances like the Un Musk and the Un Bois, the rose and the orange blossom, the pepper even. This one seems a bit more complex than usual. So some of their earlier fragrances like the orange blossom and the vanilla, you can layer that together to create something a bit like Love Don't Be Shy combo. So they lend themselves to layering quite a bit. This one actually, you can probably spice it up a little bit with pepper. I'm thinking of notes you can add to it. The pepper I think will be perfect. Maybe a little musk in there. Maybe patchouli as well. So there's some things you could do with those fragrances. If you haven't thought about it, please try those. Next, we're going to the house of Voyage Imaginaire. Once again, it's tea and rock and roll. This is the second fragrance from the house I'm highlighting today. This one is such dark juice. I like the name tea and rock and roll. What do you guys think? So this one is going back to more of that kind of fresh tea experience. There is a bit of smokiness in this. And I would say this is somewhere in between Ani. No, what am I saying? Oolong Cha. I had my mind on Ani. No, Oolong Cha and Un Été. So it's kind of somewhere in between. So it's a bit fresher than Un Été, but it's a bit more intense, slightly gourmandesque in comparison to Oolong Cha. But this one, the tea is so super strong. I think some of those other notes that were in Un Été, like the creamy vanillic and slightly gourmandesque notes, were taking over the tea. This one, the tea is super highlighted. Really, really in-your-face tea. It's got a bit of spice. It's got a bit of kick. I think it's smoky. It's really, really great smelling. Super cozy. And the thing with this brand, as I said earlier, they're 100% natural. I actually have a video on the channel shot with Isabelle Doyen and Camille Goutal, daughter of Annick Goutal, talking about this brand. So if you're curious to learn more about that brand, please head over and catch that video. But this tea and rock and roll is super yummy. Really, really awesome. It's not super fresh, but it's also not super intense, like warm and gourmand. It's kind of like somewhere in between, as I was saying, in between Oolong Cha and Un Été. But the next fragrance, it's Eccentric Molecules, Molecule 1 plus Black Tea. Have you guys tried this one? I absolutely am a big fan of Eccentric Molecule fragrances, really love them. I'm so glad that they have flankers that they've done for the Molecule 1 series. Molecule 1 plus Patchouli, Molecule 1 plus Mandarin, Molecule 1 plus Iris, and then the second series was the Ginger, the Black Tea, and then also Gaiac. All of them are so awesome. It depends on if you want eccentric, if you want ISOE Super plus a different note, because you're basically working with two ingredients, the molecule, one ingredient of ISO E Super, which is cedarwood and sandalwood, and you've got another ingredient to kind of, you know, make the fragrance a little different in comparison to just for all woods. Here we've got the kind of a smoky dark tea note with the woodiness of the ISO E Super. So basically it's just black tea and ISO E Super. So you've got a lot of that ISO E Super because it smells very cedary, but you know what? Sometimes I get a little bit of sandalwood from it as well, especially on skin. It becomes a bit creamy, smooth, almost like Javanol is added a little bit to the ISO E Super. But you've got a lot of black tea here, which is so smooth and awesome. So it's a simplistic fragrance. It's minimalistic, but it's not super minimal where it smells just like ISO E Super, which is what Molecule 1 is. They have the variety to offer you one with tea, one with gaiac, one with ginger, mandarin, patchouli, or iris. And again, I love this fragrance. You can actually take this and use it to layer any tea fragrance that needs some boosting, you know? If you have a tea fragrance that you're complaining about the longevity, I think this will work great. Layer this down, let it dry, and spritz on the tea fragrance on top. As long as it doesn't clash, I think it'll, you know, help you with a little bit of extended longevity, I think. But on its own, it's minimalistic, it's simplistic, super cozy, woody. Molecule 1 plus black tea from Eccentric Molecules. Let me know if you're familiar with that. And then finally, in the tea category, we've got Oolong Tea from One Day. This was also a fragrance we featured in Scent Club. This is in 23 is when we featured this one. It was like number 5, kit number 5. But what I like about this tea, it's so different than everything else. This is a bit daring. It's quite smoky and I almost feel like there's cigarette ash or cigarette tobacco in here. But I think it's just the tea acting very, very super smoky. Like it's oolong tea. I went through an oolong tea phase, by the way, in the mid to later part. No, I think it's mid 2010s. I was having a lot of oolong tea for a while. It wasn't this smoky though. This is super smoky and lots of jasmine in this as well. And I've had plenty of jasmine tea as well. Whenever I go to a Chinese restaurant, they would serve it. It's quite delicious. For a while, I kind of fell out of love with jasmine tea. I really enjoyed all of a sudden because it's so fragrant, you know, it's got this beautiful perfume that you can actually drink. Here, you got a lot of that jasmine, a very smoky tea, not as cozy as other tea fragrances, because that smokiness might be maybe not so cozy, but in the end, it's quite nice. Let me know if you're a fan of One Day's Oolong Tea. It's from the Tea Exclusive collection. Hopefully you were able to get a Scent Club kit with that fragrance, but it's been like 2.5 years almost. So that's the end of the tea fragrances. And let me know if you're a fan of tea fragrances. Let me know what are your favorite tea fragrances. Add a comment below. If you have or tried these fragrances that I just featured in this tea category of autumn fragrance notes, what do you think about these as well? Do add a comment below. And let's move on to number 6. We're counting down the different autumn notes that I consider perfect autumn notes. We're going to the spice of cinnamon. Yes, cinnamon and apples together, they're a perfect combo, right? So cinnamon, I love putting on my lattes or cappuccinos. I think it's a great taste. I also love them on pies or, you know, fruit kind of desserts. It's perfect that way. I just love the smell of it. I like the flavor of it, and I consider it very. I mean, even though it's got a kick, it's a spice. It's got a kick. I find it to be cozy because it reminds me of autumn months when you're baking these kind of like autumn desserts. A lot of times baking like apple pies and things like that, and you know you add that kind of a spice to it. So I consider it to be a really awesome autumn spice. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Add a comment below. I've got 5 great fragrances here that feature cinnamon. First of which is Divine Temptation from the House of Reine de Saba. This is a Matthew Nardin Creation. His name is written right down there. This is a heavy-duty cap, by the way. Have you guys discovered this line? It was actually sold at ZGO Perfumery for a while. I think there's been some challenges getting the brand sending fragrances here, so maybe that's why ZGO is not carrying the brand anymore, but they were here for a while, and so it was easy to go check them out. My favorite from the house is Rain Makeda, but this is probably number 2, Rain de Saba's Divine Temptation. And it's an ambery experience. It's a lot of cinnamon. There's also booziness here. It's a lot of warm spices. In addition to cinnamon, there's also cloves here. It's very balsamic in the dry down. It smells fantastic. I love, love, love this fragrance. To me, this is also something you could wear in the wintertime. It acts wintry, but I wanted to feature something that's warm and kind of seductive with the feature of cinnamon. This is so sexy. It's so, so awesome. Really great fragrance. I wish the brand was, out more, and I don't know what happened. As I said, they were selling for a while at ZGO Perfumery, but they're not anymore, unless maybe they have some bottles left over. You can go check. But this is definitely a top 3. I love it. Look at the sprayer on top. It's got the brand's logo on there. And on top of here also, really cool attention to detail. And this thing is so heavy duty. Anyway, Rain de Saba. This is Divine Temptation, created by Matthew Nardin. So featuring cinnamon. So warm and spicy. I love it. Also ambery and boozy. Don't forget that. Next, it's Mancera's Tonka Cola. Tonka Cola. It's definitely very cinnamony. Also very Tonka. Also very gourmand. Also cherried. The cinnamon in this. So, I actually caught a documentary recently about cinnamon. I don't know where it was. Somewhere on YouTube. And it was talking about cinnamon from Sri Lanka versus cinnamon from Thailand. So the real true cinnamon is the one that comes from Sri Lanka. And the stuff that comes from Thailand is a lower grade of cinnamon. This is what I learned. It also has, like, if you consume too much of it, there is a bit of a poison, not poison, but I'm not 100% sure on the details, but just like tonka beans, it has the same kind of chemistry, the cinnamon that comes from Thailand. And again, I don't remember if it was Thailand or another country, somewhere in one of those countries, but I guess the real stuff comes from Sri Lanka, and it's the most expensive. And I'm drawing the names of the differences between the two, but let me know if you guys are familiar with this, the differences between the cinnamons. But this Tonka Cola, the reason I brought that up is reminding me of me opening up a jar of fresh cinnamon, and it smells like a jar of cinnamon. Not this after the cinnamon has been sitting around, but there is a jar of ground cinnamon smell right in here. So it's quite warm and spicy. It eventually fizzles away. Let me spray it a little bit more. Right when it's sprayed, it smells like a jar of cinnamon. So good. But there's also cherries here, all kinds of notes. It's a really awesome gourmand, but super heavy on the cinnamon. That's why I wanted to feature it here. And somehow the cinnamon note fragrances turned out to be some of the heaviest fragrances in this category. Although as we go down, we're going to get heavier fragrances, a bit fresher when we first started the video. But again, so awesome. This is like cherries and nuts drizzled with something cinnamony and syrupy. Quite yummy. Definitely one of the best from Mancera from the recent days. Tonka Cola. And one of my favorite fragrances, in fact, it was featured in the very first Scent Club kit. This is Rouge Sarré from Atelier des Ors. It's the second Atelier des Ors fragrance we're talking about today. I've been hoping that they would make an Extrait, the Parfum version of this. They haven't yet, unfortunately. but I love the way this fragrance smells. It's got a lot of dates. It's got a lot of plums and a lot of Peru balsam. So so balsam, it's an amber, but it's balsamic. So I've always mentioned when I speak about this, it's like a bowl of chopped up, dates that are dried plums and drizzled with a kind of a something honeyed, syrupy, molassesy syrup. And you experience that here with a very golden amber glow combo. It's so good. So good. I wish they would make a Extrait de Parfum of this. They have 3 Extrait de Parfum fragrances of their existing fragrances. This one definitely deserves it. And to me, it's the best fragrance in the collection, followed by the Cocoa Kimia. Is that what it was called? And then Lune Feline is tied with that as well. But so awesome. It's delicious. This is definitely one of the best. Let me know if you're a fan of Rouge Sarre. Add a comment below. Do you enjoy it as much as I do? Were you one of the first folks that picked up the first Scent Club kit to feature that fragrance? Do let me know. Add a comment below. So next we've got a fragrance called Voyage from the house of Parfums de Marly. And it's a cinnamony gourmand. To me, this one gives me the idea of baklava, drizzled with the honey or a spicy kind of syrup of some kind. There is a bit of a rosiness in here for sure, but it's sticky, sweet, spicy. I mean, it's a male targeted release, but I think it's so super unisex. This bottle is a male bottle, but I just got a comment the other day that said it's too feminine. I guess I could see it if you consider gourmands or cinnamon spicy notes to be feminine. I don't think this is much more feminine than something like Herod. Herod does have the tobacco, but there's a lot of that kind of sticky notes in Herod as well. I prefer Herod over this, but this is really a nice, example or representation of cinnamon in fragrances with an overdose of a honeyed effect as well. But for sure, you'll get the rose. There's a bit of a rosiness in here, and you'll get the reminder of the Ambre Narguilé from the house of Hermes. I was out of love with the Ambre Narguilé, then I kind of went back to it. I started appreciating its light nuances, even though I think it could use a little bit of intensification. If you don't like the intensity of Voyage, you can go to something like Ambre Narguilé from Hermes. But the last fragrance in this cinnamon category is Ambre Supermassive from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. Yum, yum, yum. And this fragrance was not a love at first sniff for me, but it has grown on me so much. And I think also the fragrance has gotten matured in the bottle. It's gotten thicker and denser. For sure, I prefer Vanille Supermassive, but this one, super cinnamony, ambery, spicy, boozy, sexy. Yeah, it's got a bit of sexiness. There's also apples in here, so we could have put it in the apples mix. But, it's got cinnamon in here, so I felt like putting this one in the mix of cinnamon. So, yeah, it acts honeyed, for sure. It acts boozy, sticky and syrupy, and very, very spicy with the cinnamon. And, of course, you've got the apples. And to me, it's much better than the OG. Ambre Super Fluid is the OG. I much prefer the Ambre Supermassive. Ambre Supermassive is so good, guys. Let me know if you're a fan of that fragrance. I'm going to put a pause here. All right, I had to pause the camera there. I had to go grab a water quick. But what are your thoughts on these fragrances featuring cinnamon? Do you have a favorite cinnamon fragrance that I did not speak about today? There's a lot of cinnamon fragrances out there, although it's not the most popular note, so there's probably not as many as some other notes like vanilla, but there's quite a bit out there. I chose these very carefully, fragrances I enjoy and ones that are representing cinnamon. But for me, Tonka Cola, man, it smells like I opened up a jar of ground cinnamon. Like literally it smells like it, so I can't believe how authentic it is. But let me know your thoughts on these cinnamon fragrances. Add some of your favorite cinnamon fragrances that I did not discuss today. Let's move on to the top 5 autumn notes. And we've got coffee next. Coffee Yes, coffee is one of my addictions. I can't get enough of it. I've kind of upgraded to 4 shots a day, but normally it's 3. But anyway, I'm addicted to this stuff and I can't get enough of it. And it's perfect for me in the autumn. For me, one of the most intoxicating smells is if there's like a coffee shop or a roastery that actually is doing things with coffee and there's an aroma that's left the grounds of where the business is and it's hit my nose. I need to go have some at that time because I love the smell of coffee. So I also find coffee to be very cozy and comforting, not necessarily in the autumn, all throughout the year. But for me, some of the best times to have coffee is when there's a little bit of breeze outside, a little bit of coldness outside. My favorite time to drink it. Comforts me, soothes me, relaxes me, even though it's a lot of caffeine. It's going to get me all jumpy. Still, I love this stuff. But let me know if you love coffee and do you consider it one of the best autumn notes. Add a comment below and do let me know some of your favorite coffee fragrances as well. We're going to get started with the first coffee fragrance, Ristretto Intense Cafe. I am throwing in the Ristretto version over the OG. The OG is not necessarily super coffeed. It's more like a latte. And even though this is like a latte as well, but there's a little bit more of a coffee presence here with a lot of rose as well. So the OG Intense Cafe was out like in 2014 or 12 or 13, somewhere around there. I loved it. I turned on to it. So many people, they all would want to get a bottle of it. And I kind of got bored of it. I kind of wanted a bit more coffee. And with the Ristretto version, I get a little bit more. But still, you got a lot of rose in here. It is a bit latte-like for sure. There's amber here. And, you know, it's super sexy, I think. The coffee in here is intensified a little bit. That's why it's called Ristretto. It's a Ristretto pull on the espresso machine. Yeah, it's quite good. Montal does great coffee fragrances. And this is definitely one of their best. Do you consider Ristretto Intense Cafe having more of a coffee presence in comparison to Intense Cafe? What are your thoughts? Do add a comment below so I can find out. I do, but I still don't think this is the most super coffeed fragrance. The idea is there. I get more of a latte experience with the OG Intense Cafe, the milkiness. This is a little less milky, but still I find that this is much more coffee than the OG. But still not the most coffeed fragrances like some of the ones I'm going to talk to you about. Like this one, I consider it one of the best coffee fragrances. I reviewed it last year, I think, or the year before, I can't remember. This is Vietnamese coffee by the house of An Nam. Their bottles have changed. I don't like their new bottles, by the way, guys. I like these bottles more. I don't care for the new bottles. They just look like eggs to me. Well, it's not about the bottles, it's about the juice inside, but presentation for me is important. That's what draws me in first. But this is one of the most amazing coffee fragrances. To me, it smells like real coffee. And I've been to plenty of Vietnamese restaurants. I love Vietnamese food, and having that Vietnamese coffee afterwards is so satisfying. I love that. It's milky, it's creamy, it's like latte-like, but, you know, really strong coffee. There's only one issue with this, and it's not an issue about the smell. It's the idea of the Vietnamese coffee that I don't get much milky creaminess with this. But when I get the coffee, I get such a realistic, authentic, so real, like a real coffee smell. It's like I'm not tasting it, but, you know, taste and smell are kind of associated, connected. It almost like I'm drinking the stuff realistically. It's so real. That is so good, guys. So good. But it's lightly creamy, but more of the actual black coffee brewed. Maybe it's a bit like espresso, who knows? But also the grounds. I'm getting the grounds with this as well. It's not just about the brewed or espresso coffee. You're getting the texture of the ground coffee here. You're also getting in a liquid form as well. But it's so authentic, so realistic, real coffee. And it's like, if you like black coffee and you cream your coffee a tiny drop of it, I'm getting it like that because the creaminess is not super potent in this. It's kind of light. It's kind of faint, but there is a little bit there. Mostly about the black coffee though, but such an authentic way. It's just awesome. Anyway, that's Vietnamese coffee by the house of Dien Nam. Then we've got, my bottles are not in order. Okay, here. This is Acro Awake. Definitely one of my favorites from the house of Acro. I feel like this is great. Ooh, my cap is cracked. Anyway, I feel like this is a great fragrance to also layer with the dark. You get a mocha effect. For some reason, which brand was I telling you about that's perfect for layering? I was talking about Obvious Parfums. I feel like that brand is perfect to layer with. This is also some of the earlier fragrances, like Dark and Awake, layer so wonderfully together. It's super awesome. Maybe not the other ones, but these two layer so wonderfully together if you want that mocha effect. But to me, Awake is coffee, but also a lot of cardamom. Like in the Middle East, it's a cardamom coffee, basically. They drink that. So if you like that combo, you'll enjoy it here. To me, cardamom is a bit soapy. I don't know if you guys get that effect. There's a soapiness about it. And it lends itself to coffee so perfectly. This also smells authentic, but to me, Dien Nam smells like drip black coffee or espresso and the grounds together. This to me smells like finished Middle Eastern coffee with cardamom in it, because the cardamom in this is so authentic, so realistic. It's so good, so good. I guess people also think this might smell a bit like Intoxicated by KILIAN. I think you can get the idea a little bit, but to me, this stuff smells more realistic, because KILIAN's Intoxicated does smell a bit like Amen from Mugler. I don't get much Amen from this, but I get a realistic quality about this one. The only other thing I should say about Awake, there is a slight nuttiness in this, almost like hazelnuts. And that's why I feel like it layers so wonderfully with Dark, because Dark features hazelnuts. They're made for each other. If you want a nutty, coffeed, chocolate, mocha effect, layer these two together. But on its own, it's also super delicious. Awake is great. Let me know if you're a fan of Awake. Then we've got, Mancera's Amor Cafe. I have to be honest, both of these launched back to back. Both of them are really, really great. I think both were great launches, and I enjoyed both. Mancera's Amor Cafe is the affogato experience, one of my favorite delicacies. If you haven't ever had an affogato, next time you're in an Italian restaurant, order it after dinner. Because to me, it's like dessert and coffee at the same time. I mean, it's so good. It's mostly vanilla ice cream with a shot or two of espresso. Maybe they'll stick a little cookie on it or something. I don't know. Sometimes you get that. But to me, this acts like that. And with a little bit of a doughy cookie thing as well. Not necessarily just the coffee and the vanilla. But mostly when I make it, I just, get 2 scoops of ice cream and 2 shots of espresso on top. And it kind of melts the ice cream together. Creamy coffee with a lot of caffeine. Here, that's what they've done. They've basically captured that. But yum, it's a yummy fragrance. I mean, you'll pick up the Mancera Montal kind of DNA in this, but I love that combination of the coffee and the milky, creamy vanilla ice cream. So yum. Let me know if you're a fan of Mancera's Amor Cafe. It's a great autumn fragrance, isn't it? What do you think of coffee as a autumn note? Do add a comment below. And the last coffee fragrance I want to talk to you about is Kerosene's Follow, not Followed, guys. I will not be featuring Followed in a lot of videos unless it's called a Beast Mode Room Filler video, which I don't plan on doing one anytime soon. Maybe for autumn. Follow, on the other hand, is a wearable fragrance. Followed is not wearable. Plus, there's all the issues with people saying Followed is not what I say it is. My experience, it doesn't wash away. It stays in the room. Stays in the studio for days. It falls all over your clothes and you'll smell Followed for days after it's, it's fallen all over you because it flows everywhere. It's so heavy. Follow, on the other hand, is drip coffee with a lot of amber. There's vanillic touches. There's tonka in this, I believe. There's a bit of mapley kind of sap. It's sweet, but if you want the real coffee experience with a little bit of a breakfast thrown in, go with Follow. But if you want overdose of maple syrup with super potent coffee, go with Followed. But don't say I didn't warn you, because that stuff is nuclear, most nuclear fragrance. And I think it's an ingredient they're using, because I've also smelled that ingredient in a few other fragrances, but they haven't made, because there's one fragrance from Born to Stand Out called Drunk Maple, and I feel like they used a similar ingredient. I think it's something to do with the maple ingredient note or maple syrup note. It acts a bit like that, but not as super heavy as Followed. But with this one, going back to this one does smell very dark black coffee. It's drip coffee, very concentrated, with a little bit of a sweet vanillic, syrupy kind of maple sappy kind of gourmand thrown in. That's Kerosene's Follow, not Followed. Let me know if you prefer Followed over Follow. Let me know if you've had the experience of Followed as I have. Some people haven't, but many have. It's nuclear. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the coffee category. Do let me know what your thoughts are on these fragrances, and let me know if you have another favorite coffee fragrance that I did not discuss that you consider an awesome autumn fragrance. Plus, do you consider coffee a great autumn note? Do add that comment below. So let's move on to the number 4 note, and now we're going to talk about musk. Yes, musks can be very cozy, and I do consider them perfect in the autumn. And whether it's an animalic style musk versus a clean musk, I still consider them perfect for autumn. And we've got a variety of different types here. So we've got 5 of them. And let me know if you have a favorite musk that you like to wear for the autumn. Do let me know if you consider musk a favorite note of yours to wear in the autumn. I should reiterate, there's no rules. Wear what you want when you want. I just find these to be the types of notes I like to wear in the autumn months. Again, no rules. Just wear what you want when you want. But for me, these are perfect as far as notes go for the autumn. But the first fragrance in the musk category happens to be Filthy Musk. Filthy Musk is in our latest Scent Club kit, guys. You haven't gotten your kit yet, do check this one out. It is a bit daring. It is a bit animalic, but it's super sexy. I absolutely love it. So we do have some kits left. This is in the kit. And I think we might have one or more of the fragrances coming up here in a bit. What I like about this one, it's animalic. You'll really experience the animalic qualities. And even though there's a lot of sweetness in this that kind of covers up the animalic qualities, you still experience the animalic qualities. But if they didn't have that sweetness in here, you probably would have gotten an overdose of animalics, which might have been a turnoff. But to me, I find it to be super sexy. Also, it's super long lasting. So it's a great fragrance created by drawing a blank with her name. Sorry about that. It'll come to me though. Oh, it's Margot Lepage-Goran. There's too many names to keep track of. So sometimes I lose my train of thought. If I slow down and think about it, it'll come to me. I'm obsessed with her fragrances. In fact, she did a fragrance for Born to Stand Out called Oud Candy. That's my next obsession from the house and her creations. Really addicted. And I got a compliment on it. I couldn't believe the compliment. And I'll talk about it in another video. Oud Candy garnered me this most amazing compliment as I was checking out at a grocery store. So I'll talk about that later. But if you haven't gotten your nose on Filthy Musk yet, please do. And the best way you can get your nose on it if you end up with one of our kits. But just to let you guys also know, we did actually it's called a surprise box from Essential Parfums. We dropped 2-for-1 surprise boxes. And just to let you know, we've got only 3 left of Essential Parfums Rose and Musk box. So if you haven't gotten your boxes yet, we're going to run out very soon. Everything else sold out fast except for this collection. For some reason, this one didn't sell. Maybe because the musk is not one of my favorites from the collection. Who knows? But there are 3. It's 2 for 1. You're only paying for 1 bottle, but you're getting 2 Essential Parfums fragrances. And lastly, this is our latest Scent Club kit. And again, it's the best way to discover the fragrances that are in the kit. And there's Filthy Musk, Blue Whiskey on the Rock, and Taipei. Those are the 3 different fragrances that are in the latest kit. All right, so let's talk about the next musk fragrance. This is from the house of Nasomatto. It's Sado Naso. Have you guys gotten your nose on this one? Did you guys ever buy the limited edition bottle that they had made for this fragrance? I'm not going to say what it is. Don't want any problems to come up with YouTube and the censoring. But yes, there was a X-rated bottle that they did of this fragrance. But they're unpublished notes. So Nasomatto and Orto Parisi doesn't publish notes. But what you get from this is some sweetness. There's definitely like an animalic musk. But it's interesting, the reactions from people when they comment about this fragrance. Some say it's too animalic for them. Some say it's not animalic at all. So it's all degrees of how much you can tolerate. I get a little bit of musk that's slightly animalic, but I get a lot of sweetness, and I find the balance to be just awesome. I love it. I kind of preferring Filthy Musk a little more now, and Filthy Musk to me is actually a little more exciting. But Sado Naso to me acts like deer musk, if you have ever smelled deer musk in person. But you know what, guys? I don't think I smelled Filthy Musk. Let's do that real quickly. Filthy Musk does have scatol, according to June, the owner of Born to Stand Out. But there's a lot of pineapple, there's honey, there's spices, there's musky notes, and scatol to give you that little bit of dirty funk in like a musk fragrance. But I love it. I love that fragrance. Super awesome. If I compare it to Sado Naso, on the other hand, it's not as loud. It's a bit more musky, as in it gives you the idea of true deer musk. It's also a bit quiet, even though Nasomatto fragrances are, you know, supposed to be really loud and beefy. But to me, I prefer the Filthy Musk now because it's so super loud and also a bit more dirty. But both of them are great. Both of them are super great. But if I want authentic deer musk style, I would go with the Sado Naso. None of these are using true deer musk, by the way. I'm just recommending them because they do give me that kind of a vibe, but they are synthetically made to smell like that, but also super awesome to wear in the autumn months. So that's Sado Naso, and that's Filthy Musk. Let me know if you're a fan of these fragrances. All right, the next fragrance is not about, it's about musk. It's musky fragrances, but this one is created with ambrette. So this is a fragrance from the house of Atelier Materi called Bois d'Ambrette. But when they first launched the brand, it was called Peau d'Ambrette. And I've got the OG Peau d'Ambrette bottle. This is ambrette. I find it to be super sexy. It's very powdery and it's a bit iris-like and also vegetal. But the ambrette also has, it has some fruity nuances. It's a bit, you know, slight booziness in there as well, but it's super powdery because there's also iris in here, lots of it, and it's giving me a slight vegetal vibe. But I find this to be super sexy. I'm obsessed with ambrette because it's a natural, real ingredient that's organic ingredient that smells musky, because I think it's some kind of seeds from a flower that they extract, and it's very expensive, obviously, and they use it to create musky fragrances. I believe it was featured in the OG Egoiste, or it was called Bois Noir first, but It's become popular lately. It's also in a fragrance called Fleur de Peau, which this does remind me a little bit of Fleur de Peau as well. All right, let me know if you're a fan of that. Do you enjoy Ambrette and fragrances? Do you like musky fragrances? Again, this Bois d'Ambrette, even though I have Peau d'Ambrette, definitely one of my favorites from this house. Really super sexy, really, really awesome and powdery, iris heavy Ambrette fragrance. That's super musky. So that, definitely check that out if you haven't tried it. But this next fragrance from the house of LFSGQUESTIONS, it's Musk K. Have you tried this one? Now this is on the clean side. This is a minimalistic, clean musk. Does have a bit of laundry-like presence because it's so super clean. But I love it. It's got this kind of a creaminess in there. I'm getting like some pepperiness. There's also a bit of, let's see. There's a slight bit floral touch with this. But in the end, it's got a very laundry clean effect. Even though I believe there's like a slight marine woody note in here, it's not so super prominent. To me, it's so super clean, so super minimalistic, but with substance. It's not acting like Molecule 1 or those kind of fragrances. So there is a minimalistic quality about it, but it's super clean and musky, but also very, very sexy. I think what happens with this fragrance is it comes alive with your body temp increasing and your own chemistry. It creates that kind of... So if you're familiar with fragrances like Another 13, you're going to kind of get a similar kind of an effect with this fragrance that you get with Another 13, because it's quite musky, but also on the minimalistic side. But definitely one of my favorite fragrances that LFSGQUESTIONS has created. I love that. It smells great. But don't go in expecting something robust and intense. It is a very personal fragrance. And the last fragrance I'm going to talk about in this category is Milk Musk. Oh my God. I reviewed this in 2020 at the height of the pandemic, and I left it. I mean, I was pulling for it every once in a while. I've just kind of pulled it for this video. Oh man, I'd forgotten how great this smells. I kind of prefer the EGT over the EDP, by the way. So yummy. So Milk Musk, right? We also talked about Milky Musk. So different, night and day different. We've got Milk Musk and Milky Musk. Milky Musk is all sandalwood, and even though this might have a little trace of sandalwood in it, there's some fruitiness. It's fluffy, it's marshmallowy, slightly sweet and caramelly, but it leans gourmand and it smells fantastic. I highly recommend this one. Definitely one of the best from Molton Brown because it smells delicious. It's fluffy, it's pillowy, it's soft, kind of, as I said, almost like froth, a very velvety, smooth froth that a barista would make for the most decadent cappuccino or something. Not the kind of froth that, you know, evaporates and breaks up. The more decadent kind of velvety froth. I'm a big sucker for froth with my cappuccinos. If they make light, airy, fluffy, not fluffy, froth that kind of separates as soon as it hits the coffee, I don't like that coffee. I love my cappuccinos with the most velvety, smooth, thick froth. And this gives me that kind of an idea. But, you know, there's some fruitiness in there. It's yummy. If you haven't tried this, please do. It's so good. Milk Musk from the House of Molton Brown. And that's the last fragrance in this musk category. A variety of different kinds of musk fragrances. Let me know which one's your favorite. Do you have a favorite musk fragrance that I did not discuss today? Do add a comment below. And also let me know, are you a fan of... I lost my train of thought there. Sorry, guys. It's getting a bit late. Do you have a favorite... do you consider musk to be a favorite note for you for an autumn note? Let me know. Add a comment below. Again, everybody thinks differently. I consider musk to be a favorite autumn note, because of its coziness. And a lot of these fragrances are super cozy and also sexy as well, because musks can get sexy. But let me know, add a comment below so I can find out. Let's move on to the next category. Next note. In fact, this is not a note. This is a style, but I've featured it here as a note because it's the kind of notes they are. It's a group of types of notes. It's mostly boozy. So boozy I consider number 3. And usually when it comes to boozy, I'm talking about rum, cognac, or whiskey. These are the ones that really give me booziness in fragrances. Gin, vodka, I don't get that from those notes. I wouldn't consider adding them to this list. Big fan of boozy fragrances, and we're going to start off with... Actually, before we start off, do let me know what your favorite boozy fragrances are. Do you consider boozy a really great note for autumn? Let me know. You know, sometimes in the autumn when it gets cold, you do drink some booze, some spirit or something to warm you up. So that comforts you, right? So I really think boozy fragrances are perfect for autumn. For sure, you can kind of graduate to winter with boozy fragrances as well. A lot of these notes will work in the winter months as well. But first fragrance is part of our Scent Club kit. Blue Whiskey on the Rock in an old-fashioned glass. This is from the house of Prode. So this is featured with Filthy Musk and Taipei by One Day. I featured One Day's oolong tea in this video, but not Taipei. So it's a great fragrance created by a deceased, sadly passed away perfumer. But it's super boozy, also very spicy, and also aromatic. It does get ambery, and it does, you know, get woody in the dry down as well. But I'm surprised at how great the quality of this fragrance is, because the fragrance itself is not super expensive. And if you haven't gotten your nose on this one and you want to check it out, definitely we have some Scent Club kits that feature this fragrance in. But really great, you know, fragrance. It's perfect for autumn, I think. It's not super intensely loud. It's also not a wimp. It's got great lingering power. It does smell like whiskey, but very spicy, very, boozy, aromatic, lots of aromatics in this as well. Eventually, there's the woods and amber in the dry down as well. But if you haven't tried it, please do. I highly recommend this brand, Prode, and also this fragrance, Blue Whiskey on the Rock in an old-fashioned glass. The next fragrance is one of my super loves from Kilian. It's old-fashioned. Definitely one of the best boozy fragrances out there, but definitely a lot more expensive than Blue Whiskey in an old-fashioned glass. But to me, what I like about this fragrance is the fact that they created a boozy fragrance without even using a boozy note. I love it. I love it. I love it. Boozy fragrances are so awesome. So awesome. And these two fragrances I've spoken about, the old-fashioned and the Blue Whiskey. Well, old-fashioned Blue Whiskey on the Rock in an old-fashioned glass. Talking about whiskey, by the way. This is, very interesting creation, but super awesome smelling. They don't use boozy notes. They're using like Immortelle, Wheat Absolute, and things like that to create a boozy fragrance that's supposed to smell like an old-fashioned cocktail. I've not ever had an old-fashioned. Usually go with a Negroni. They're kind of similar with different spirits. But there's also Davana in this, and I think I did a video on Davana fragrances, and you really pick up Davana in this because it's kind of an aromatic herbal note, but when you smell it after it's distilled, it smells like fruit and tea and sweet and a very unique smell, and you've got a prominent amount of it there. But old-fashioned, yum, 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 yum. But both of these fragrances, really awesome boozy fragrances. I've got a great boozy list here, so don't go away and keep watching. But the next fragrance is Spirit Cask from Joram Studio. Really underrated house that I really love. And a lot of their fragrances are great. It's more of an indie niche house. artisanal. So this one is whiskey, cognac, and rum, but there's also like fruity note in this, pear and things like that. And it acts more like booziness inside, like that's booziness inside, once again, like the barrel age. I was thinking of the name of the fragrance, but it's this one. Remember I was mentioning here, we have this apple kind of macerating and becoming booze in a barrel. With this one, you have that kind of barrel experience, but with a lot of different boozy spirits thrown in. So it's almost like you're at a distillery. You're not just working with whiskey, you're working with rum and other like cognac and things like that. And you've got this smell. It's really filled up the room and this area of this like distillery. And all you're getting is the smell of the booze. You're getting the woods in there. You're getting everything else that's mixed together. It's called Spirit Cask from Joram Studio. You're getting that idea perfectly here in a smell form. I think one of the notes is oak wood. For me also, there's a slight rosiness with this, which is kind of cool. I like that about it. But definitely one of the best from the house. My favorite from the house is Paradisi, but this is quite awesome the way they did this fragrance. It's definitely like a top 5 for me from this house. I really love the authentic distillery kind of smell for the booziness of this fragrance. So that's Spirit Cask from the house of Joram Studio. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Next, we've got Cocktail Appalachius. This was in a previous Scent Club kit. Let me know if you check this one out. This is also quite yummy. It's quite boozy. This is Cocktail Appalachius is, well, it's a music-inspired brand, obviously, and they kind of throw in themes of music-related notes breakdowns. But there's liqueur notes in here. There's almondy notes, boozy notes for sure, and lots of woods and musks together. Definitely really great creation. This, I believe, is created by Camille Chamardin, who did Lumari's Porthole. So if you like that fragrance and you like her creations, check this out. But there's also a bit of nuttiness in this from like a sesame note. But I think she did a great job on it. It's warm and spicy, boozy and woody. I think there's like guitar wood note or something. That's part of their kind of their inspiration because it's a music-inspired brand. But really great. It does remind me a little bit of an Initio fragrance, a little bit. I forgot the name of it, the one with cherries. This one doesn't go fruity. Well, maybe it does a little bit, but it doesn't smell like cherries to me. But let me know your thoughts on Cocktail Appalachius. Are you familiar with it? Are you familiar with the brand L'Orchestre Parfum? So we've got the second fragrance here from L'Orchestre. We've got Piano Santal and Cocktail Appalachius. Really great house, underrated. That brand's also carried at ZGO Perfumery. And then there's also Spirit Cask that's also carried at ZGO Perfumery. If you want to smell Born to Stand Out, you'd have to go to Ministry of Scent and also Oolong Tea. One Day is also at Ministry of Scent. These are all local perfumeries. There's also Voyage Imaginaire there. I'm just giving you heads up if you guys are local. I'm going to end this boozy list with one of my favorite cheapies of all time. It's Bentley for Men Intense. Really love it. It's a cheapie. It smells great. To me, it has great lingering power. I love the dry down. I think the dry down is super sexy. It's very woody. It's a bit smoky. It's slightly green, spicy, and super boozy and woody. I think there's a little bit of a patchouli dry down as well, and very addicting. Created by Nathalie Lorson. It's kind of sort of like Idole from the house of, what's the name of the brand? Luban. I have a right there, I can see. Luban's Idole with that beautiful African cap on that bottle. This reminds me of that a little bit, but it's not identical. The booziness is kind of similar, I think. But I love that fragrance. I've been a fan for over 10 years. In fact, one time I had a bottle that was, I think, that level, and I took it with me to Europe for a month. I just wore it all throughout that trip, smelling great. You know, it's a cheapie that has great lingering power, and it's my kind of fragrance. It's boozy. I love boozy fragrances to begin with. And if you're on the budget and you want quality offering, that fragrance is really quality, I think. The fact that it smells great, it's super sexy, it's warm and spicy and boozy. I highly recommend Bentley for Men Intense. Yes, I threw in a cheapie. It's the only cheapie that I have in this video, but totally still recommend it to this day. I think it's a great creation by Nathalie Lorson. Super awesome fragrance. So that's the last boozy fragrance for you guys. Let me know your thoughts on these boozy fragrances, and also if there's something that I missed, do let me know as well. Add a comment below so I can find out what other boozy fragrances you like. But do let me know what your thoughts are on boozy fragrances in general for autumn. Of course, they're also perfect for winter, but I find these to be perfect for autumn. I like that warmth and cold at the same time when it's autumn out there. That's one of my favorite seasons, autumn. I just love it. It's a very cozy season. And these are the perfect fragrances to pull for because they got some substance. There's a lot of freshies here, but most of them have a lot of substance, and I kind of need that for the cooler autumn months. But I find boozy to be one of the best categories for notes for autumn. But let me know if you're thinking the same thing with boozy as well. Let's move on to number 2 note or category, and it's tobacco. Yes, tobacco is one of my all-time favorite notes. I love tobacco, but let me know your thoughts on tobacco. Do you consider it an awesome autumn note, or do you think it's more of a winter note, or you don't think it's either of those seasons? What do you think? Add a comment below. But tobacco, is it because I grew up with a cigarette smoker? My dad was a smoker, but he smoked more cigars, but usually with his buddies and things. So I think because he also did whiskey with cigars, maybe I like boozy and cigarette tobacco fragrances. I don't smoke myself. I do drink booze. But I love the smell of cigarettes, cigarette smoke, pipes, cigars, and things like that. That's why I love tobacco and fragrances. One of my favorite notes, as you are aware. By the way, there is a video on the channel of my top 10 notes. If you haven't caught that video, go catch it. It's not a seasonal focused top 10 notes video, but it's top 10 notes in general. So go catch that video. Tobacco is on that list. There might be different fragrances though. We're going to start off first with Smoking Hot from the house of Kilian. So I think this Smoking Hot is created by the same perfumer as this fragrance. I could be wrong. I know Matthew Nardin has created fragrances for Kilian. I think he created L'Or Vert, but I think he also created Smoking Hot, if I'm not mistaken. I do like the kind of fragrances this perfumer creates. He's with MANE, the company called Man. I think I get his touch here. Oh man, it's good. This is so good. But you know what? This one also has apples, which could have gone to the apple category. But so yum. Oh my God. To me, it smells like Thanksgiving dessert with booze in it, but somebody smoking a cigarette or something. It's kind of like a hookah, like a shisha, giving me those kind of vibes. But the apple in this is so yum. So yum. So it's fruity. It brightens the fragrance, even though we're talking about darker notes, more denser notes. That apple kind of, that's quite juicy to me, brightens things up, makes it much more balanced rather than one-sided with the darkness. And even though I don't think like tobacco fragrances go extremely dark, but here the fact that there's the apples, it's so bright. It's kind of a bright take on a kind of a boozy kind of tobacco fragrance. So I don't think this personally has any boozy notes as a note breakdown, but I get booziness from it, even though it's like, I think it's a tobacco focused fragrance. And I think what's giving me the booziness is the apples in here. It's so yum. There's also something that's giving me scent memories, and I haven't been able to figure out what those scent memories are. For sure, I get it here. I don't know why, but I do. But yum. I've got 3 Kilian fragrances in this video. I must be really into Kilian again. I don't like everything from Kilian, but I do like their boozy and, you know, gourmand take on fragrances. But the next fragrance, go into the house of Plume Impression. It's Royal Bourbon. Royal Bourbon, definitely my favorite from the house. I like the tobacco. There's also booze in here. And for some reason, tobacco and booze together, what a lovely combo, right? Don't you think? This also has cinnamon. This could have gone into the cinnamon category. It's got a lot of different things that I really, really love. It's a super delicious offering from this house. Definitely my favorite, for sure. It's warm, it's spicy, it's boozy, it's tobacco-ish. It's a bit smoky, but very gourmand. There's a sticky caramelly side about it. And of course, ambery. They did such a great job on this fragrance. I think it's an awesome, awesome release. I think this is number 1 for me from this house. Murmure d'Eté is number 2. Are you guys familiar with Murmure d'Eté? It's a green fig fragrance. It's fruity, but it's mostly green side of the fig, created by Quentin Biche. I can't remember who created the Royal Bourbon. But boy, it's super caramelly to me today. There's a real sticky quality about it. Man, it's good. So good. I'm almost getting butterscotch today. I don't know what has happened to this fragrance, but it's kind of gotten strong. It's quite like butterscotch, like caramel chunks. Yum. I've never experienced so much, you know, sticky caramelly quality with that. I wonder if it's because it's been sitting and aging in the bottle. But the next tobacco fragrance, of course, is Tobacco Vanille, one of my favorites for a long time. This used to be my favorite Thanksgiving fragrance to wear for a long time. I did it for many years. Got lots of compliments from family. I have slowed down with wearing this, but I still think it's a really awesome offering. I was hoping that they would come up with a Parfum or Extreme, something like that with this fragrance. Maybe it's a popular fragrance, but it's not as popular as some of the other fragrances. That's why they haven't done any flankers of this one. But to me, it's so warm and spicy, vanillic and smoky. Plus, it's got zing and spice to it. I think there's like cloves. There might even be a little bit of ginger in there, slightly cacao, but in the dry down, woody, and of course, ambery as well. It's such a lovely made fragrance. Again, definitely one of my number 1 favorite private blend creation fragrances from Tom Ford. And I keep praying and hoping that they would come out with a flanker of this. Change it up a little bit. Make something different with it. Leave this one because everybody loves it, but maybe do a flanker. Maybe add some notes to it because to me it's a dry fragrance, so I could appreciate maybe they threw in a little bit of a creamy lactonic quality, but all on its own, it's quite good. Super good. Let me know if you're a fan of Tobacco Vanille. It's a popular fragrance. For sure, it's very popular. So Tobacco Vanille and this next fragrance, Tabac Exquis from Caron, are kind of similar ideas, but whereas Tobacco Vanille is vanilla, Tabac Exquis is cacao and chocolate. Both of them are super sexy to me. The only wish I have with Tabac Exquis is I wish it was a bit stronger, but as a smell, it's kind of orgasmic. Yum. To me also, Tabac Exquis acts a bit smokier than Tobacco Vanille. But my God, it's good. The chocolate and cacao. I think it's more cacao than chocolate because there is a dusty, dry quality about this. There's also warm spices. I think there's cinnamon in this. So again, it's kind of a similar idea to Tobacco Vanille. It's just that the vanilla is replaced with a lot of cacao and chocolate, but works somewhat similarly and very addicting, you know. It's like you smell it and you want to smell it more. You want to smell it more because you love the smell. It smells so good. So good. Give me more kind of a thing. So Caron had a in-house perfumer, Jean-Jacques. Recently, he had left, and I think they are now working with Louise Turner, which is what I read on their Instagram, I heard. Louise Turner, actually, I was actually at Printemps in Paris. On the first floor upstairs, there's a Caron boutique, and the associate there told me that, Jean-Jacques is no longer working there. It's Louise Turner. And Louise Turner is a Givaudan perfumer. So they have a new perfumer, but they haven't launched anything with her yet. Let's see what's going to happen with the brand. But for me, one of the best things from that brand for a long time is Tabac Exquis. If you want to find out more about Tabac Exquis, go catch my video. I actually have a video on Tabac Noir and Tabac Blonde as well. There's one more Tabac fragrance that I need to get called Tabac Blanc. And once I do, I can review that and maybe do a video on all 4 of the tobacco fragrances from Caron. But if you guys don't know about Caron, they are known for Caron's Pour un Homme de Caron. It's been a classic men's fragrance with lavender. It's a fragrance my dad wore, and I've been a fan of it for a long time as well. But that's kind of what they're known for. But they're also known for Tabac Blonde, which is probably their first tobacco fragrance. And of course, now they have a bunch of different tobacco fragrances, and they don't smell alike, by the way. The tobacco fragrances, there's inspirations might be similar, but they're not. But also, Tabac Blonde is more of a, I believe it was more of a leather fragrance. I did a video on it. Go catch that video on that. But the last tobacco fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is from the house of Serge Lutens. It's Fumerie Turque. I'm so glad I bought this fragrance within the last year. I actually had a bottle of this bought around 2013 in Paris in the bell jar. I ran out of it and I stopped buying it for a long time, and I guess they moved it from the bell jar into these tall bottles. This is one of the best tobacco fragrances in that to me, it's musky. It's got a bit of the muskiness that's in Sadonaso, and also kind of leafy tobacco. This is not smoky whatsoever. It's so freaking sexy. I love that. I love that. So different than any of the other fragrances that I've spoken about today with the tobacco, but so awesome. I love that muskiness, and it's not that animalic to me. Like, I get a muskiness like I do with Sadonaso. Not as intense as Sadonaso, but underlying muskiness that I find to be super sexy. But there's a spiciness there, slight warmth and vanillic touches there, but definitely not smoky. Like, there's no burned, ashy tobacco. It's more leafy, and it's like it's raw, dry form of the tobacco leaf. It's so good. Oh man, you guys. If you haven't tried Fumerie Turque, please do. All of these 5 tobacco fragrances are amazing, and all of them go in different directions. Tobacco, definitely one of my favorite notes to wear in the autumn. Is it one of your favorite notes to wear in the autumn, tobacco? And what do you think about the 5 fragrances that I featured here in this section? And do you have a favorite tobacco fragrance that I didn't speak about here? Do let me know. Add a comment below. Again, why do I think tobacco is perfect for autumn? There's something cozy about tobacco, even though the idea might not be cozy, but I think people that are addicted to smoking cigarettes or cigars and pipes, I think there's something cozy about it for them. Maybe I have a subconscious feeling about that. Maybe because it reminds me of my dad smoking cigars, my mom smoking cigarettes. I don't know. But I find it to be very cozy, even though I'm not a smoker, but I kind of like the smell. Do you guys like the smell? Let me know. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the number 1 favorite note for autumn. Gotta be vanilla. I didn't put patchouli. I don't consider it like a autumn note. I think patchouli is a note that could be worn any time of the year. Even though, again, there's no rules, nothing, I can pull for patchouli because to me it's not so warm. It's woods and there's a freshness about it. I can pull it any time of the year. So I left that off, even though it's my #1 favorite note. But you guys know my #2 favorite note is vanilla. And again, there is a video on the channel of my top 10 favorite notes. You'll see the differences between this list and that list. And of course, you'll see patchouli on that list and other notes that I find to be in my top 10 notes. But here in this video, this deep dive video, I consider vanilla my #1 favorite note for autumn. And then but before we start, let me know your favorite vanilla fragrances. Do you consider vanilla a favorite note of yours for autumn wear? Is it more of a winter? For me, it's winter. Again, I don't have any rules, but if I had to make rules, I find vanilla to be perfect in autumn and winter. But again, I don't have rules. But I think these are really, really appropriate notes for autumn. And if you're looking for some fragrances to wear in this autumn, these notes breakdowns are going to be perfect for you. But let me know if you have a favorite vanilla fragrance. What do you think about vanilla for autumn? And we're going to get started with this fragrance. It's from the house of Blender Graphy. It's Vanilla Mudslide. And this was part of our kit number 14? 15? No, we have 15 with the other 3 fragrances. This was part of 14, which dropped around April, I think, somewhere around there. But this has turned out to be one of my favorite fragrances I discovered last year. I first discovered this at Pitti Fragranza in Florence. They had put out the fragrances. They hadn't launched until the end of last year. But really awesome, super sexy. I do get a little bit of a tobacco-ish touch in here as well, which makes it even more special. It's also super long-lasting, which is also really, really awesome. Plus, it garners compliments. It's a bit boozy, but I wouldn't call this a boozy fragrance because it has vodka, but something in it is acting a bit boozy. But as I said, also it's acting tobacco-ish. It's acting smoky, lots of vanilla, but also almonds, but super intoxicating. Really, really awesome fragrance. Definitely the best that the brand has released. I have a video on the channel with the brand owner, shot at Excellence, if you want to go catch that video. But such a special fragrance for me. It gives me a little bit of tobacco vanille vibes and also a bit of Caron's Tabac Exquis. But this is so much more potent than those 2 fragrances. And I find Tobacco Vanille to be more potent and intense in comparison to Tabac Exquis. But here, it's so long-lasting. It's an extrait of Parfum. Great projection, really super intense. And it's part of our previous kit. And we still have some. If you haven't tried this, I highly, highly recommend you guys try this one. It is an awesome, awesome release. Created one of my favorite perfumers from one of my favorite perfume firms of independent women perfumers. This is Anne-Sophie Bahagel, and it's a Vanilla Mudslide. Super intoxicating. Let me know if you've gotten your nose on that. Add a comment below. I know the brand has been selling out of the bottles. Maybe I'm talking about it too much. Maybe our kit is helping along with that. But if you haven't discovered it, there are still kits available. And if you've already bought it and you can't find a bottle, again, there are some kits available so you can get more of that juice because it's just totally awesome. But I'm going to go to the next vanilla fragrance. This one might be a bit more cozy than Vanilla Mudslide. This is one of the OG vanilla fragrances I first got my nose on, but it didn't come in a bottle like this. It's gone through multiple bottle changes. But finally, I think they've settled on this collection as this bottle. This is from the house of Guerlain from the L'Art et la Métier collection. It's Spirituous Double Vanille. I was originally going to put Angelique Noir, but I wanted something like true syrupy vanilla, and this is that. You get slight citrusy touches, but floral touches in here as well. But to me, you get a booziness from this, and it acts like, you know, vanilla for baking. I baked with vanilla when I was very young. I've baked and cooked quite a bit when I was younger. I don't do much of it now. This is what I do, YouTube videos. But if I didn't do this, I'd probably be cooking and baking. But again, this is so super boozy and awesome. It really smells like the vanilla that you put in your batter, cake batter, and things like that. That's what it smells like to me. Just a simplistic take on a kind of a syrupy, gooey vanilla that's boozy. I think it's gotten light. When I first bought it, it came in one of those thin sideway bottles. Then I got one with the pump that totally sucked. Now I have this. I don't have any of those left anymore, unfortunately. But if you're looking for something simplistic, because compare Spirituous Double Vanille to Vanilla Mudslide, night and day difference. First of all, they smell so different, even though they're about vanilla. For me, the Spirituous Double Vanille is so simplistic and easy to wear in comparison to Vanilla Mudslide, which is chock full of various different kinds of notes that actually makes the fragrance super complex. So they're so different. But if you're looking for something simplistic, go with the Guerlain. You know, it's a bit boozy, it's a bit spicy, a bit floral, lightly ambery in the dry down, but you got the sweetness of the vanilla that smells delicious. Hey, I've taken a sip of the vanilla that you put in cake batter and things like that. It smells like this. That's Spirituous Double Vanille from the house of Guerlain. Then we're going to the house of Les Eaux Primordiales, second fragrance from the house, Vanille Supermassive. So we featured their two supermassive fragrances. First, Amber Supermassive in the, which video was that? The cinnamon list. And then we've got Vanille Supermassive in the vanilla list. And we are now talking about three completely different vanilla fragrances in this vanilla category. Here we have a very masculine take on vanilla. This is like super masculine. It's woody and musky as well. There is a note of caramel in this, but you're not experiencing that stickiness. Whereas this fragrance has a kind of stickiness. By the way, perfumers are from the same firm here. This goes so super woody and dry. A bit smoky, and also I get a little bit of like forest woods experience with this vanilla. Yeah, this is vanilla like no other vanilla. We did feature this in a kit. It was the kit with Piano Santal and Jani. And it's good. It's really, really great. But if you are scared of vanilla, you think you're a man and you think it might come off too feminine, try this and see. First of all, there's a lot of musky notes and woods in the base. I think there is a bit of a forest woods-like effect in here. I think it's because there's pine in the notes. There is caramel, but I'm not experiencing a caramelly experience. And the vanilla is super dry. So it's a dry kind of woody kind of dusty vanilla. But I find it to be super sexy and garners me compliments as well. Really great fragrance. Vanille Supermassive from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. Let me know if you're familiar with that fragrance, what your thoughts are. Were you able to get one of the kits we had that in? I'd love to find out who got the kit and who didn't. We sold out of that kit a long time ago, actually. All right, the next fragrance is from the house of Paris Monte Carlo. It's Vanille de Tahiti. And again, here we have another vanilla that's completely different than any of the vanillas I've spoken about. This one is a feminine vanilla. And even though I don't get the animalic part, some people say it's kind of animalic to them. So be warned about this. But I find it to be super intoxicating. There's a prominent magnolia and champaca note in here. And I believe there's also ylang ylang. It's a bit boozy, but also kind of spicy. But the champaca, which is kind of a magnolia, and the magnolia note is kind of a creamy, fleshy variety, like very ripened under the heat. Taking these flowers, these giant, gorgeous flowers with a very strong fragrance that's not so distinct, and you've drizzled this syrupy vanilla on it. You're getting their spiciness, their slight citrusy touches, the creaminess. Oh man, it's so good. This is so good. I mean, this to me I just painted a picture for you. That's what I get. I find that magnolia trees are some of the most amazing trees for me. I mean, you got magnolia trees that go very short, and some can get so super tall. Like if I ever go to Sacramento, the center of Sacramento near the Capitol, the grounds of the Capitol is full of magnolia trees, and there are some of the most giant trees. And if you go there in the summertime when it's 100 degrees, you really experience the smell of the magnolia flowers if you're standing under the tree. I love magnolia trees, but sometimes I get scared of them because there's always rats climbing all over them. But get past that. Those trees smell so good, especially if one of the branches is low and you can actually, touch the magnolia, pull it down and smell it. This gives me that kind of an idea, but more intensified. And as I said, drizzled with a lot of vanilla. But it's got a bit of booziness as well. Definitely one of the best fragrances from Paris Monte Carlo in a long time. Addicting kind of fragrance. So super awesome. So that is Paris Monte Carlo's Vanille de Tahiti Extrait de Parfum. I'm talking about the Extrait de Parfum. I think I've tried the EDP. I much prefer the Extrait. For me, that Extrait from Paris Monte Carlo, Vanille de Tahiti, and also Rose de Taïf are two of my favorite extraits from that house. Really love that house and some of their fragrances. But Vanille de Tahiti Extrait de Parfum has become my favorite from that house. Super intoxicating, super delicious. And the last fragrance in the number one category, vanilla for autumn, happens to be Nishane's Ani. Yes, I thought about Ani earlier, but I was talking about Oolong Cha, but it was here as a fragrance that I featured here in the vanilla category for autumn notes. So fragrances are interesting to, well, it's normal with fragrances and everything else in life. I lose interest in things in daily life, and then I come back to them. I had been exhausted of going to the movies. I started going to the movies again because I love movies. Sometimes I get bored of certain foods and I come back to them. Same thing with fragrances. I was a bit bored of this, but I've rediscovered this. Oh man, it's so good. I think it's definitely one of the best fragrances that Cécile Zarokian has created. It might be my favorite. What I like about this, it's a kind of a fresh take on vanilla, but super zingy. And you've got not only ginger, you've got cardamom. So you've got that soapiness of the cardamom, the spicy zing freshness of the ginger, which both of those spices are fresh. But you've got the warmth of the vanilla. It's slightly syrupy, but not like the gooey kind, because these notes of the ginger and cardamom kind of strip away of the gooey qualities of the vanilla. But there's also some citrusy touches here. In the background, it kind of lightly hints at something like Sospiro's Vibrato, maybe like an overdose of vanilla take on Vibrato kind of a thing. Because the ginger and the cardamom and the fact that there's a lot of freshness up top give me that. But to me, it's a very unique take on a vanilla fragrance. It's super delicious. But, at one time I thought that was also very similar to Dries Van Noten from Frederic Malle, which apparently I hear it's coming back as a different fragrance. I don't know how true this is. But I felt like this was, because there's sandalwood in Ani, and I felt like the sandalwood in this reminded me of the sandalwood the sandalwood and vanilla in Ani reminded me of the sandalwood and vanilla in Dries Van Noten by Frederic Malle, except that this has a lot of cardamom and ginger, so the Dries Van Noten didn't have that. So if you stripped away the cardamom and the ginger and maybe the lemony top notes, you get a little bit more of a closeness with the Dries Van Noten. But they are two different fragrances, and sort of reminding me of one another. But lately, it's kind of giving me Sospiro Vibrato vibes, maybe even Kajal 3 vibes, because there's a lot of zing in here and also a lot of lemony freshness. But really great. Again, really totally different vanilla fragrances, all vanilla fragrances going in different directions. But I find vanilla to be one of my favorite notes for autumn. It's such an amazing note to wear in the autumn time. And it definitely deserves the #1 spot. So let me know your thoughts on these vanilla fragrances. Do you consider vanilla to be a favorite note of yours to wear in the autumn? Do add a comment below. And if there's another vanilla you enjoy wearing in the autumn, what would it be? Do add a comment and let me know. But guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. It's a long deep dive video, 50 fragrances, 10 different notes, perfectly appropriate for autumn. Do let me know what other notes you consider that are perfect for autumn. Do add a comment below. Let me know what kind of themes you want me to do for future deep dive videos. I have one more deep dive fresh video coming on Saturday. Then we're done with the freshies. It's a deep dive on a citrus fruit. You'll probably guess if you've been following me and you have been watching the citrus deep dive videos. But yeah, do let me know what else you'd like to see. Add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching. As I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you enjoy watching videos like this, please do subscribe and click that bell icon as well so you'll be notified for future videos. And of course, please give a thumbs up for this video so it'll help with the algorithm. See you guys later. Bye-bye.